The year is approximately 1299. In the Anatolian highlands, amidst the shattered fragments of the Seljuk Sultanate of Rum, a new power stirs like embers in ash. A small, pastoral community, a Beylik asterisk, sinks its roots into the soil of Surgut, led by a charismatic figure named Osman I. He is a Ghazi, a frontier warrior with a sword aimed at expanding Islam, operating on the ragged edges of the Byzantine Empire. This fledgling principality, named after its founder, the Osmanli Beyligi asterisk, or Ottoman Beylik, is born from a convergence of open doors and burning ambition. The Seljuk state has crumbled, leaving a gaping void, and the Byzantine Empire, once a towering colossus, is now a trembling shadow, its foundations cracked by internal brawls and external pressures. Osman's initial gaze fixates on the fertile plains of Bithynia, a stone's throw from the Byzantine heartland. His early victories are small stones, but each one significant, chipping away at fortresses like Yarhisar and Bilesik. These aren't grand, sweeping campaigns, but a steady, relentless press, a war of constant friction against a decaying empire. His warriors, drawn from various Turkic tribes and disillusioned Byzantine border guards, are fueled by the glint of promised land, the gleam of plunder, and the fire of religious fervor. The capture of Bursa in 1326, though occurring shortly after Osman's death, is a pivotal hinge point, cementing the Ottoman presence in the region and planting a significant urban center as their de facto capital. Orhan, Osman's son and successor, inherits a growing state and possesses a strategic compass that propels the Ottomans further. Under Orhan, the Ottoman Beylik reshapes itself from a tribal gathering into a more organized state. He rolls out a standing army, the asterisk Yaya, infantry, and Musallam, cavalry, a crucial stride in sharpening the military into a professional blade. Orhan's reign sees the strategic plucking of Iznik Nicaea in 1331 and Izmit Nicomedia in 1337, further welding Ottoman control over Bithynia and bringing them ever closer to the Sea of Marmara. These conquests are not merely lines on a map. They are also symbolic banners, as these cities once pulsed as important Byzantine centers. The Ottomans, unlike previous invaders, are not simply raiding and retreating. They are settling, building, and weaving the conquered populations into their fabric. A critical turning point arrives in 1352, with the Ottoman crossing into Europe. The Byzantine Emperor John VI Cantacuzene, tangled in a civil war, foolishly extends a hand for Ottoman assistance, offering them the fortress of Simp on the Gallipoli Peninsula as a launching pad. This foothold on the European continent, though initially a temporary loan, quickly becomes a permanent anchor. The devastating earthquake of 1354, which splinters the walls of Gallipoli, allows Orhan's son, Suleiman Pasha, to occupy and fortify the city, establishing a secure bridgehead for future Ottoman expansion into the Balkans. This event etches the beginning of the Ottoman presence in Rumelia, their European territories, onto the map. Murad I, Orhan's son, seizes the throne in 1359 and embarks on a period of lightning-fast expansion. He is a military mastermind and a shrewd administrator. The Ottomans push westward into Thrace, capturing Dimtoka, and then, in 1362, the strategically vital city of Edirne Adrianople. Edirne becomes the new Ottoman capital, signifying a seismic shift in their center of gravity from Anatolia to Europe. This move positions them perfectly to challenge the remaining Balkan states. Murad I establishes the Janissary Corps, the elite infantry units composed of Christian boys conscripted through the Asterisk Devshirme system, converted to Islam, and forged into loyal soldiers of the Sultan. This innovative military institution provides the Ottomans with a highly disciplined and effective fighting force, a sharp sword unmatched in the region. The Battle of Maritsa in 1371 is a hammer blow victory for Murad I. Ottoman forces, led by Lala Shahin Pasha, crush a large coalition of Serbian and Bulgarian lords, effectively shattering their resistance and clearing the path for further Ottoman advances. The fall of Sofia in 1385 and Niš in 1386 further cement Ottoman control over Bulgaria and parts of Serbia. Murad I's reign culminates in the momentous Battle of Kosovo in 1389. Here, the Ottoman army confronts a formidable coalition of Balkan forces, primarily Serbs led by Prince Lazar. The battle is a bloody, hard-fought grind, leaving heavy casualties on both sides, including the death of Murad I himself, likely assassinated on the battlefield. Despite the Sultan's death, the Ottomans achieve a decisive victory, effectively subjugating Serbia and asserting their dominance over the Balkans. Bayezid I, Murad's son, immediately assumes the throne on the battlefield, securing his position and preventing any ripple of disruption to the Ottoman war effort. Bayezid I, known as Yildirim, the Thunderbolt, for his lightning-fast campaigns, continues his father's expansionist surge. He wields Ottoman control over the Balkans, absorbing more Serbian and Bulgarian territories. He also pivots his gaze back to Anatolia, forcefully incorporating several independent Turkoman beyliks into the Ottoman state, often through the blade of military conquest. This aggressive consolidation, however, sows seeds of resentment among the local Turkoman rulers. In 1396, a major crusade, assembled by European powers and led by King Sigismund of Hungary, attempts to pry the Ottomans from Europe. The Battle of Nicopolis is a crushing defeat for the Crusaders, a stark testament to the superior organization and discipline of the Ottoman army and Bayezid's tactical brilliance. This victory further burnishes Ottoman prestige and cements their position as the dominant power in southeastern Europe. Bayezid I then sets his sights on Constantinople, initiating a prolonged, suffocating siege of the Byzantine capital. However, a new and formidable storm cloud gathers from the east. Timur, the Turco-Mongol conqueror, who has carved out a vast empire stretching across Central Asia and Persia. Timur, his anger stoked by Bayezid's aggressive expansion in Anatolia and his refusal to acknowledge Timur's overlordship, invades Ottoman territory. The climactic clash explodes at the Battle of Ankara in 1402. This is a catastrophic defeat for the Ottomans. Bayezid I is captured, and his army is scattered like dust. The Ottoman state is plunged into a period of churning chaos, known as the Interregnum or the Ottoman Civil War, lasting from 1402 to 1413. During the Interregnum, Bayezid's sons, Suleiman Celebi, Issa Celebi, Musa Celebi, and Mehmed Celebi, engage in a brutal, fratricidal scramble for the throne. This period of brother against brother and civil war severely weakens the Ottoman state, allowing some of the Anatolian beyliks to claw back their independence and granting the Balkan Christian states a temporary breath. The very existence of the Ottoman Empire hangs by a thread. However, the foundational institutions hammered into place by Osman, Orhan, and Murad I, particularly the Janissary Corps and the provincial administration, prove resilient. Mehmed Celebi, known as Mehmed I, eventually emerges victorious from this protracted, bloody conflict, defeating his brothers and stitching the fragmented empire back together in 1413. Mehmed I, often called the Restorer, dedicates his reign to mending the Ottoman state. He reasserts Ottoman authority over the Anatolian beyliks, though often through the soft hand of diplomacy rather than the iron fist of conquest, seeking to avoid further costly wars. He also restores a fragile stability in the Balkans, largely through a policy of appeasement and consolidation rather than aggressive expansion. His reign is a period of healing and recovery, laying the fresh groundwork for future Ottoman resurgence. Murad II, Mehmed I's son, ascends to the throne in 1421. He is a formidable ruler, combining military prowess with a deep understanding of diplomatic chess. Murad II faces numerous challenges, including renewed Byzantine attempts to stir up rebellions and a resurgence of Hungarian power under János Hunyadi. In 1430, he snatches Thessaloniki from the Venetians, a significant port city that further sharpens Ottoman naval capabilities and tightens their grip over the Aegean. Murad II initially pursues a policy of expansion in the Balkans, sparking conflicts with Hungary and Serbia. The period from 1440 to 1444 is marked by intense, grinding warfare in the Balkans. János Hunyadi, the Hungarian regent, carves out several notable victories against the Ottomans, leading to the Peace of Szeged in 1444. This treaty is a significant stumble for the Ottomans, forcing them to cede some territories and acknowledge Hungarian overlordship over others. Murad II, weary of constant warfare and grieving the loss of his eldest son, surprisingly steps down from the throne in favor of his 12-year-old son, Mehmed, in 1444. This unexpected abdication rips open a power vacuum and emboldens the European powers. Pope Eugene IV, alongside Hungarian and Polish forces, shatters the Peace of Szeged and launches a new crusade against the Ottomans. The young Mehmed, overwhelmed by the crisis, famously dispatches a message to his father: "If you are the Sultan, come and lead your armies. If I am the Sultan, I order you to come and lead my armies." Murad II reluctantly returns to command the Ottoman forces. The two armies clash at the Battle of Varna in November 1444. The Ottomans, under Murad II's experienced leadership, achieve a decisive victory, crushing the Crusader army and killing King Władysław III of Poland and Hungary. This victory firmly reestablishes Ottoman dominance in the Balkans and proves the resilience of the Ottoman military machine. Murad II rules for another several years, welding his power and continuing to strengthen the empire. He defeats another large Crusader force at the Second Battle of Kosovo in 1448, effectively dousing any serious European challenge to Ottoman rule in the Balkans for decades. He also campaigns in Anatolia, further integrating the remaining independent beyliks. Murad II's reign is a crucial forging period, preparing the empire for its next great leap. He dies in 1451, leaving the throne once again to his son, Mehmed, now a young man of 19, but with a renewed sense of purpose and an unwavering ambition burning in his eyes. Mehmed II, known as *Fatty, the Conqueror, is a ruler of extraordinary intellect and unyielding determination. His mind has been honed across a wide range of subjects, from military strategy to philosophy, and he speaks several languages. From the moment he ascends the throne, his primary objective is a shining beacon: the conquest of Constantinople. The city, though a faded echo of its former glory, remains a powerful symbol, the beating heart of Orthodox Christianity and a strategic jewel, gripping the Bosporus and the trade arteries between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. Its continued independence is a stinging affront to Ottoman power and a constant potential staging ground for European intervention. Mehmed II immediately begins meticulous preparations for the siege. He orders the construction of the formidable Rumeli Hisari fortress on the European side of the Bosporus, directly across from the existing Ottoman Anadolu Hisari fortress, effectively cinching off Constantinople from any naval assistance from the Black Sea. This monumental undertaking is completed in just 4 months, a testament to Ottoman organizational might and Mehmed's relentless drive. He also gathers a vast army, estimated to be between 80,000 and 150,000 soldiers, a force unprecedented in its sheer scale. Crucially, he commissions the Hungarian engineer Urban to cast enormous cannons, including the Great Bombard, a super-heavy siege cannon capable of hurling stone balls weighing over 500 kilograms. These cannons are a revolutionary, earth-shaking development in siege warfare. The Byzantine Emperor Constantine I Palaiologos, a cold dread seizing him, desperately appeals to Western Europe for aid. However, the long-standing schism between the Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic churches, coupled with political rivalries and the recent defeats at Varna and Kosovo, means that only limited assistance trickles in. A few hundred Genoese and Venetian mercenaries, led by the valiant Giovanni Giustiniani Longo, and some ships. The city's defenders number perhaps only 7,000 to 10,000 men, a stark, terrifying contrast to the overwhelming Ottoman force. The siege of Constantinople begins on April 6, 1453. For nearly 2 months, the city endures a relentless, thunderous bombardment from Ottoman cannons. The ancient Theodosian walls, which have shrugged off countless invaders for over 1,000 years, are now subjected to an unprecedented, pulverizing assault. Ottoman engineers tunnel like moles beneath the walls, while their naval forces, commanded by Baltoglu Suleiman Bey, attempt to punch through the Golden Horn, which is protected by a massive chain stretched across its entrance. In a brilliant and audacious stroke on April 22, Mehmed II orders his engineers to transport his ships overland, across a greased wooden slipway, from the Bosporus into the Golden Horn, bypassing the chain. This incredible feat of engineering and logistics catches the Byzantines completely off guard, allowing the Ottoman fleet to attack the city from a less defended flank. The defenders are forced to stretch their already thin forces even thinner. Despite the overwhelming odds, the Byzantines and their allies fight with incredible bravery. Giustiniani Longo's leadership is a beacon, and his men repel numerous Ottoman assaults. However, the continuous bombardment slowly grinds down the walls, carving out breaches that are difficult to patch under constant fire. Supplies dwindle, and morale begins to fray among the defenders. Mehmed II, his patience wearing thin, plans a final, massive assault. He orders his troops to prepare for a decisive attack on May 29, 1453. The assault begins in the early hours of the morning, a multi-pronged attack designed to swamp the exhausted defenders. Waves of irregular troops, followed by Anatolian regulars and then the elite Janissaries, are hurled against the weakened walls. The fighting is fierce, desperate hand-to-hand. Emperor Constantine I himself leads the defense, fighting alongside his men in the breach. A critical moment occurs when Giovanni Giustiniani Longo is gravely wounded and must be carried from the walls, a significant blow to the defenders' morale and organization. Shortly after, a small postern gate, the Kirkaporta, is possibly left ajar or breached, allowing a small contingent of Ottoman soldiers to slip into the inner walls. The sight of the Ottoman banner fluttering over the inner defenses, coupled with the relentless pressure along the main walls, signals the end. The final resistance collapses. Constantinople falls on May 29, 1453, after a 53-day siege, a seismic shift in world history. Sultan Mehmed II, now Fatih, rides triumphantly into the city, his horse's hooves echoing on the ancient stones, proceeding directly to the Hagia Sophia, the Great Basilica, which he orders converted into a mosque, a potent symbol of the city's new Islamic identity. He declares Constantinople the new capital of the Ottoman Empire, renaming it Istanbul, though the former name continues to whisper through the centuries. The conquest of Constantinople not only snuffs out the last flicker of the Roman Empire, but also welds together the Ottoman Empire's geographical halves, bridging its European and Anatolian territories. Mehmed II immediately launches a massive reconstruction and repopulation drive for Istanbul. He beckons people from across his empire, including Christians, Jews, and Muslims, to resettle in the devastated city, dangling tax incentives and land. He establishes new waqfs, endowments, to fund the erection of mosques, madrasas, schools, hospitals, and emirates public kitchens, transforming Istanbul into a throbbing imperial metropolis. His reign, lasting until 1481, is characterized by relentless expansion and the tightening of administrative reins. Mehmed II continues his conquests, turning his gaze to the Balkans and the Aegean. In 1456, he attempts to seize Belgrade, but is hurled back by Hungarian forces led by János Hunyadi. Despite this stumble, he secures Serbia, conquering the Despotate of Serbia by 1459. He also subjugates the Mora, the Peloponnese in Greece by 1460, and the Empire of Trebizond, the last Byzantine successor state, in 1461, thus wiping away the final remnants of Byzantine rule. The Wallachian ruler Vlad III Dracula, known for his fierce resistance, becomes a vassal, but his subsequent defiance ignites Ottoman campaigns against him in the 1460s. Mehmed II also wages a long, arduous war against Venice from 1463 to 1479, grappling for control of the Aegean islands and coastal territories. This war sees significant naval clashes and land battles, including the prolonged siege of Koder in Albania. He finally forces Venice to ink the Treaty of Constantinople in 1479, ceding several key strongholds and agreeing to pay an annual tribute. The reign of Mehmed II also witnesses significant administrative overhauls. He codifies the Ottoman legal system, introducing the Kanun-Namai Ali Osman *, a comprehensive tapestry of laws that regulates everything from state administration to criminal justice. He centralizes power further, strengthening the Sultan's grip and trimming the influence of powerful aristocratic families. He promotes the *devshirme system, plucking Christian boys from the Balkans to be molded into janissaries and palace bureaucrats, ensuring unwavering loyalty to the Sultan above all else. His military campaigns stretch to Anatolia, where he defeats Uzun Hasan, the ruler of the Ak-Koyunlu, White Sheep, Turkomans, at the Battle of Otlakbeli in 1473, welding Ottoman dominance over eastern Anatolia. In 1480, an Ottoman force lands in Otranto, Italy, briefly seizing the city and sending tremors of panic through Western Europe, signaling the empire's far reach. Mehmed II dies in 1481, having transformed the Ottoman state into a formidable empire, a true successor to Rome, and a dominant power in southeastern Europe, Anatolia, and the eastern Mediterranean. His death sparks a succession struggle between his sons, Bayezid II and Sem Sultan. Sem, initially backed by some factions, is defeated by Bayezid II in 1481 and flees, first to the Mamluks in Egypt and then to the Knights Hospitaller on Rhodes, eventually landing in papal custody in Rome. Sem's presence in Europe becomes a constant diplomatic and military shadow over Bayezid II, as European powers consider him a pawn against the Ottomans. Bayezid II, known as the Just, rules from 1481 to 1512. His reign is marked by a period of consolidation rather than aggressive expansion, partly due to the ongoing threat of Sem Sultan and the need to stabilize the empire after Mehmed II's intense campaigns. He focuses on internal administration, economic development, and cultural patronage. He encourages trade, builds new infrastructure, and champions Islamic scholarship and arts. He welcomes Jewish refugees fleeing the Spanish Inquisition in 1492, settling them in Istanbul and other major cities, where they weave significant threads into the empire's economy and culture. Bayezid II engages in conflicts with the Mamluk Sultanate of Egypt over control of pilgrimage routes and border territories in Syria, leading to a series of inconclusive wars in the late 15th century. He also clashes with Venice again, particularly over control of the Mora, sparking naval skirmishes and sieges. His reign sees the emergence of new challenges, particularly the rise of the Safavid Empire in Persia under Shah Ismail I, a Shiite dynasty that poses a religious and political threat to the Sunni Ottoman Empire. This new threat in the East will become a defining feature of Ottoman foreign policy for centuries. Bayezid II's later years are marred by a succession crisis involving his sons, particularly Selim and Ahmed. Selim, known as *Yavuz, the Grim, challenges his father's authority and, with Janissary support, forces Bayezid II to abdicate in his favor in 1512. Bayezid II dies shortly after, likely from natural causes, though some historians whisper of poison. Selim I rules for a relatively short but incredibly impactful 8 years, from 1512 to 1520. He immediately wields his power by eliminating his brothers and nephews, a brutal but common practice in Ottoman succession struggles designed to staunch future civil wars. Selim I quickly pivots his attention to the Safavid threat in the east. Shah Ismail I's spreading of Shi'ism among the Turkoman tribes in eastern Anatolia is seen as a direct challenge to Ottoman Sunni orthodoxy and a simmering source of internal unrest. In 1514, Selim I leads a massive Ottoman army against the Safavids. The two empires clash at the Battle of Chaldiran, a decisive Ottoman victory attributed to their superior use of gunpowder artillery and Janissary muskets, which the Safavid cavalry cannot effectively counter. This victory secures eastern Anatolia for the Ottomans and temporarily halts Safavid expansion. Following Chaldiran, Selim I campaigns against the Mamluk Sultanate, which controls Syria, Egypt, and the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. The Mamluks, though formidable, are technologically outmatched by the Ottoman army. In 1516, Selim I decisively defeats the Mamluk army at the Battle of Marj-Dabik near Aleppo, leading to the conquest of Syria. The following year, in 1517, he invades Egypt, defeating the Mamluks again at the Battle of Ridaniya outside Cairo. This conquest brings Egypt, with its rich agricultural lands and strategic position, under Ottoman rule. More importantly, the Ottomans gain control of the holy cities, and Selim I assumes the title of Caliph, becoming the protector of Islam's holiest sites. This significantly enhances the Ottoman sultan's prestige and legitimacy within the Islamic world. The Mamluk treasury, overflowing with the wealth of Egypt, further enriches the Ottoman state. Selim I dies in 1520, leaving behind an empire that has nearly doubled in size, now encompassing the heartlands of the Middle East and a formidable military machine. Suleiman I, known as Kanuni, the lawgiver in the Ottoman tradition and the Magnificent in the West, ascends to the throne in 1520 and rules for an unprecedented 46 years until 1566. His reign is widely considered the golden age of the Ottoman Empire, marked by vast military expansion, unparalleled cultural flourishing, and significant legal and administrative reforms. Suleiman immediately resumes the Ottoman push into Europe. In 1521, he captures Belgrade, which maimed II had failed to take, opening the way for further campaigns into Hungary. In 1522, he leads a massive siege against the Knights Hospitaller on the island of Rhodes, a long-standing Christian stronghold in the eastern Mediterranean. After a 6-month siege, the Knights are forced to surrender and relocate to Malta, securing Ottoman control over the Aegean and eastern Mediterranean trade routes. The decisive moment in Suleiman's European campaigns comes in 1526 at the Battle of Mohacs. The Ottoman army, numbering around 100,000 men with 300 cannons, crushes the Hungarian forces led by King Louis II, who is killed in battle. This catastrophic defeat for Hungary leads to the collapse of the Hungarian kingdom and opens the entire Central European plain to Ottoman expansion. Suleiman then advances on Vienna, the capital of the Habsburg Empire, in 1529. The First Siege of Vienna is a major undertaking, but logistical challenges, severe weather, and determined Habsburg resistance forced Suleiman to withdraw after several weeks, marking the furthest extent of Ottoman land expansion into Central Europe. Despite this setback, much of Hungary falls under Ottoman control, becoming the Ottoman province of Budin. Suleiman continues his campaigns in Hungary, fighting a series of wars with the Habsburgs throughout his reign, including the Siege of Esztergom in 1543 and the capture of several key fortresses. The result is a divided Hungary, with the central part under direct Ottoman rule, Transylvania becoming an Ottoman vassal state, and the western and northern parts under Habsburg control, leading to a long-standing frontier of conflict. In the east, Suleiman renews the conflict with the Safavid Empire. He launches 3 major campaigns against Persia, known as the Ottoman-Safavid Wars. In 1534, he captures Baghdad, securing Ottoman control over Mesopotamia and its holy Shiite shrines. He also annexes parts of Azerbaijan and Georgia. These campaigns, while costly, solidify Ottoman eastern borders and establish a long-lasting rivalry with the Safavids. Suleiman's naval power is equally formidable. Under the legendary Admiral Hayreddin Barbarossa, the Ottoman fleet dominates the Mediterranean. In 1538, Barbarossa achieves a decisive victory over a combined Christian fleet, including Spanish, Papal, and Venetian forces, at the Battle of Preveza, cementing Ottoman naval supremacy in the eastern Mediterranean for decades. This allows the Ottomans to project power across North Africa, incorporating Algeria, Tunisia, and Tripolitania, modern Libya, as Ottoman provinces or vassal states. The empire's reach extends from the gates of Vienna to the Persian Gulf, from the Crimea to the Horn of Africa. Internally, Suleiman is a brilliant administrator and legal reformer. He is known as *Kanuni because he oversees the compilation and codification of Ottoman law, creating a comprehensive legal framework that integrates Islamic law, Sharia, with secular imperial laws, canon. This body of law, known as the canon name *, remains in effect for centuries and provides a stable legal foundation for the empire. He reorganizes the administrative structure, streamlines the tax system, and ensures justice for his subjects, earning him a reputation for fairness and good governance. The *Devshirm system continues to provide highly capable administrators and military commanders. Culturally, Suleiman's reign is a golden age. Istanbul becomes a vibrant center of art, architecture, and scholarship. The renowned architect Mimar Sinan, often considered one of the greatest architects in history, designs hundreds of buildings during this period, including the Süleymaniye Mosque, a masterpiece of Ottoman architecture, and numerous bridges, madrasas, and public baths. Literature, poetry, calligraphy, and miniature painting flourish under imperial patronage. Suleiman himself is a gifted poet, writing under the pen name Muhibi. The imperial court is a hub of intellectual and artistic activity, attracting scholars and artists from across the Islamic world. However, towards the end of Suleiman's reign, signs of internal challenges begin to emerge. The practice of fratricide, though aimed at preventing civil war, creates instability in the succession process. Suleiman, influenced by his ambitious wife Roxolana, Hurrem Sultan, and Grand Vizier Rustam Pasha, orders the execution of his talented eldest son, Mustafa, in 1553 on suspicion of treason. This decision is deeply unpopular with the Janissaries and the populace. His other son, Bayezid, also falls out of favor and is executed in 1561. This leaves Selim, a less capable and more pleasure-loving prince, as the heir apparent. Suleiman I dies in 1566 during the siege of Sejtvar in Hungary, a campaign that ultimately results in an Ottoman victory. But his death marks the end of an era of unprecedented expansion and the beginning of a gradual shift in the empire's trajectory. Selim II, known as the Sot or the Blonde, rules from 1566 to 1574. He is the first Ottoman sultan who largely delegates state affairs to his Grand Vizier, named Sakalu Pasha, a highly capable statesman of Bosnian Serb origin. While Selim II enjoys the pleasures of the court, Sakalu Pasha effectively manages the empire. The most significant event of Selim II's reign is the Battle of Lepanto in 1571. The Ottoman fleet, attempting to conquer Cyprus from Venice, faces a combined Christian Holy League fleet, primarily Spanish and Venetian, in the Gulf of Patras. The battle results in a devastating defeat for the Ottomans, with nearly all their galleys destroyed or captured. This marks a turning point in naval history, as it demonstrates that the seemingly invincible Ottoman fleet can be beaten. However, the Ottomans quickly rebuild their fleet, and within a year, they are able to challenge Christian naval power again. Venice eventually signs a peace treaty in 1573, ceding Cyprus to the Ottomans and paying a large indemnity. Murad III, Selim II's son, rules from 1574 to 1595. His reign sees continued conflicts with the Safavids over Azerbaijan and the Caucasus, leading to the Ottoman-Safavid War of 1578–1590. The Ottomans achieve significant territorial gains, including the conquest of Tabriz, and consolidate their control over the Caucasus, extending their empire to its greatest geographical extent. However, these wars are costly in terms of resources and manpower. Murad II's reign also witnesses increased corruption within the administration and the growing influence of the harem in state affairs. The Janissaries, once the elite fighting force, begin to demand more political influence and become less disciplined. The practice of asterisk sultanate of women, Kadınlar Saltanati, where influential women of the imperial harem, particularly the sultan's mother, Valide Sultan, and chief consort, exert significant political power, becomes more pronounced during this period. Maimed III, Murad II's son, rules from 1595 to 1603. He famously orders the execution of his 19 brothers upon his ascension, a chilling example of the continued practice of fratricide, though it will be the last time this is done on such a large scale. His reign is largely dominated by the Long Turkish War, 1593–1606, against the Habsburgs in Hungary and the rebellious Wallachian and Transylvanian princes. This war is a brutal and costly stalemate, marked by numerous sieges and battles, including the Ottoman victory at the Battle of Kerestes in 1596, where maimed III personally leads his army. The war ultimately ends with the Treaty of Zitvitorak in 1606, signed by his successor, which recognizes Ottoman rule over much of Hungary, but also acknowledges the Habsburg emperor as an equal, rather than a mere king, a significant symbolic shift. Ahmed I, maimed II's son, rules from 1603 to 1617. He breaks with the tradition of fratricide, opting instead for the asterisk cafe system, where male heirs are confined to royal cages, apartments within the palace, preventing them from gaining administrative or military experience, but also preserving their lives. This change, while more humane, contributes to the weakening of future sultans, who often ascend to the throne without any practical experience of governance. Ahmed I signs the Treaty of Zitvitorak and continues the war with the Safavids, which generally goes poorly for the Ottomans, leading to territorial losses in the east. He is also known for commissioning the Blue Mosque in Istanbul, a magnificent architectural achievement. Mustafa I, Ahmed I's brother, rules briefly in 1617–1618 and again in 1620–1623. He is described as mentally unstable and is quickly deposed by the Janissaries and palace factions. Osman I, Ahmed I's son, rules from 1618 to 1622. He is an ambitious and reform-minded sultan who attempts to curb the power of the Janissaries and reform the military. His attempts to create a new army loyal only to him, by recruiting Anatolian Turks and Egyptians, and his desire to move the capital to Anatolia lead to a Janissary revolt. Osman I is captured and brutally murdered by the Janissaries in 1622, a shocking event that demonstrates the immense power the Janissary core has accumulated and sets a dangerous precedent for future sultans. Murad IV, Osman II's younger brother, rules from 1623 to 1640. He initially comes to the throne as a child, with his mother, Kursum Sultan, acting as regent. During this period, the empire experiences significant instability, with provincial rebellions, Janissary insubordination, and renewed Safavid aggression. Murad IV, upon reaching maturity, asserts his authority with ruthless determination. He cracks down on corruption, restores discipline to the Janissaries through brutal purges, and executes thousands of officials and soldiers. He personally leads the Ottoman army in campaigns against the Safavids, recapturing Baghdad in 1638, a significant victory that restores Ottoman prestige. He also campaigns in the Caucasus. Murad IV is known for his strict rule, including banning tobacco and coffee, and patrolling Istanbul at night in disguise to enforce order. He dies young, likely from cirrhosis, leaving the empire in a more stable state, but also setting a precedent for autocratic rule. Ibrahim, Murad IV's brother, rules from 1640 to 1648. He has spent his life confined to the Asterisk caves and is mentally and emotionally fragile. His reign is characterized by the increasing influence of his mother, Kursum Sultan, and his grand viziers. Ibrahim is known for his extravagant spending, his obsession with furs, and his erratic behavior, which earns him the nickname Deli Ibrahim, Mad Ibrahim. The empire becomes embroiled in a long and costly war with Venice over Crete, beginning in 1645 with the Siege of Candia, which will last for 24 years. This war strains Ottoman resources and diverts attention from other pressing issues. Ibrahim's misrule and the growing discontent among the Janissaries and the ulama, religious scholars, lead to his deposition and execution in 1648, a rare event for an Ottoman sultan. Maimed IV, Ibrahim's 6-year-old son, ascends to the throne in 1648, ruling until 1687. His early reign is dominated by the Sultanate of Women, with his grandmother Kursum Sultan and then his mother Tarhin Hadis Sultan vying for power, supported by various palace factions and Janissary cliques. This period is marked by political instability, military setbacks, and economic crises. The Ottoman-Venetian War over Crete continues, draining the treasury. In 1656, a new era begins with the appointment of Fazıl Ahmed Kurpulu as Grand Vizier, the first of the Kurpulu family, who will dominate Ottoman politics for the next half-century. The Kurpulu viziers, including Fazıl Ahmed, 1660–1676, and his son Mustafa, 1689–1691, are highly capable and ruthless statesmen who restore order, discipline, and military vigor to the empire. Under the Kurpulu viziers, the Ottoman Empire experiences a brief resurgence. Fazıl Ahmed Kurpulu focuses on military reforms and renewed expansion. He successfully ends the long war with Venice by capturing Candia, Heraklion, in Crete in 1669, after a 24-year siege, a monumental achievement that completes the Ottoman conquest of the island. He also leads successful campaigns against the Habsburgs in Hungary and against Poland, securing new territories and vassal states. The Ottoman army, revitalized under Kurprulu leadership, achieves victories in Transylvania and Ukraine, leading to the Treaty of Buchach in 1672 with Poland, which cedes Podolia and parts of Ukraine to the Ottomans. However, the ambitions of the Kurprulu viziers, particularly Kara Mustafa Pasha, Fazıl Ahmed's brother-in-law, lead to a fateful decision. Encouraged by successes in the east and south, and aiming to secure greater control over Hungary, the Ottomans launch a massive campaign against the Habsburgs, culminating in the Second Siege of Vienna in 1683. Kara Mustafa Pasha leads an enormous Ottoman army, estimated at 150,000 to 200,000 men, to besiege the imperial capital. The siege lasts for 2 months, but the city, under the command of Ernst Rudiger von Starhemberg, holds out valiantly. On September 12, 1683, a combined Christian relief force, led by King John III Sobieski of Poland and Duke Charles V of Lorraine, launches a decisive attack. The Battle of Vienna is a catastrophic defeat for the Ottomans. The Ottoman army is routed, and a vast amount of war materiel, including cannons and the Sultan's tents, is captured. Kara Mustafa Pasha is subsequently executed by order of Maimed IV for his failure. The defeat at Vienna in 1683 marks a profound turning point in Ottoman history, signaling the end of an era of expansion and the beginning of a long, arduous period of territorial retreat and internal struggle. European powers, galvanized by the victory, formed the Holy League, an alliance comprising the Habsburg monarchy, Poland-Lithuania, Venice, and later Russia. This coalition launches a sustained counteroffensive against the Ottomans, initiating the Great Turkish War, 1683–1699. This conflict proves devastating for the Ottoman Empire, as the Holy League systematically pushes the Ottomans out of much of Hungary. Key fortresses like Buda fall in 1686, and the Ottoman army suffers significant defeats at the Battle of Mohacs in 1687 and the Battle of Zenta in 1697. The Treaty of Karlovitz in 1699, which concludes the Great Turkish War, is a landmark event. For the first time, the Ottoman Empire is forced to cede vast territories to European powers: Hungary and Transylvania to the Habsburgs, Podolia to Poland, and the Mora Peloponnese and parts of Dalmatia to Venice. This treaty shatters the myth of Ottoman invincibility and marks the beginning of the empire's long decline in military and political power relative to its European rivals. The Ottomans are no longer the aggressive, expanding force that once threatened the heart of Europe. They are now a defensive power, struggling to retain their existing territories. The 18th century is characterized by a series of costly wars, primarily against Russia and the Habsburgs, which continue to chip away at Ottoman territory and prestige. Peter the Great's Russia, emerging as a major European power, poses a new and formidable threat, particularly in the Black Sea region and the Balkans. The Pruth River campaign in 1711, where an Ottoman army surrounds and nearly captures Peter the Great, offers a brief moment of Ottoman resurgence, leading to the return of Azov, but this is an anomaly. The Treaty of Passarowitz in 1718 sees further territorial losses to the Habsburgs, including the Banat and northern Serbia. The period also witnesses a cultural shift known as the Tulip Era, Lail Devri, from 1718 to 1730, under Sultan Ahmed III and his Grand Vizier Nevşehirli Damat Ibrahim Pasha. This era is marked by a fascination with European culture, architecture, and technology, as well as a period of relative peace and prosperity. Palaces and gardens are built in the European style, and cultural exchanges increase. However, this period of perceived indulgence and westernization is cut short by the Patrona Halal Rebellion in 1730, a Janissary-led uprising fueled by resentment over high taxes, corruption, and the perceived decadence of the elite. Ahmed III is deposed, and Ibrahim Pasha is executed. Throughout the 18th century, the Ottoman Empire faces internal challenges. The central authority of the Sultan weakens, and provincial governors *ions gain increasing autonomy, sometimes acting as semi-independent rulers. The Janissary Corps, once the backbone of the army, becomes a corrupt and politically powerful force, resistant to reform and often acting as kingmakers. They grow in numbers but decline in effectiveness, becoming a burden rather than an asset. Economic challenges, including inflation, trade imbalances, and the shift of global trade routes away from the Mediterranean, further strain the empire's resources. The reign of Catherine the Great in Russia, 1760 to 1796, proves particularly disastrous for the Ottomans. The Russo-Turkish War of 1760–1774 results in a crushing Ottoman defeat. The Treaty of Kusuk-Kaynarka in 1774 is a humiliating blow, forcing the Ottomans to cede territories in the Crimea and the Black Sea region to Russia, and, crucially, granting Russia the right to intervene on behalf of Orthodox Christians within the Ottoman Empire. This protection clause becomes a potent tool for future Russian interference in Ottoman internal affairs. The Crimea, a long-standing Ottoman vassal, is annexed by Russia in 1783. The early 19th century brings new pressures. Sultan Selim III, 1789–1807, recognizes the urgent need for military and administrative reform, inspired by European models. He attempts to create a new, modern army, the Nizam Letter 131 Sadid, New Order, trained and equipped along European lines. However, his reforms are met with fierce resistance from the entrenched Janissaries, the Ulema *, and other conservative elements who view them as a threat to their privileges and to Islamic tradition. A Janissary revolt in 1807 leads to his deposition and eventual murder. Mahmud II, 1808–1839, an equally determined reformer, learns from Selim III's tragic fate. He bides his time, consolidating power and subtly building support for his modernizing agenda. In 1826, he orchestrates the Auspicious Incident, a premeditated confrontation with the Janissaries. When they rebel against his reforms, Mahmud II, with the support of loyal troops and artillery, crushes the Janissary Corps, executing thousands and abolishing the centuries-old institution. This brutal but decisive act removes the greatest obstacle to reform. Mahmud II then proceeds with wide-ranging reforms, reorganizing the army along European lines, centralizing administration, introducing Western-style education, and adopting European dress and customs, laying the groundwork for the Tanzimat reorganization era. The Tanzimat reforms, initiated under Mahmud II and continued under Abdulmesid I, 1839–1861, and Abdulaziz, 1861–1876, aim to modernize the Ottoman Empire and integrate it more closely with Europe. Key reforms include the Hat Letter 131 Sheriff of Gulhain, 1839, and the Hat Letter 131 Humyan, 1856, which promise equality for all subjects regardless of religion, establish a more equitable tax system, and guarantee security of life and property. New legal codes based on European models are introduced, a modern bureaucracy is established, and a public education system is developed. The Ottoman Bank is founded, and infrastructure projects, such as railways and telegraph lines, begin. These reforms, however, often face resistance, are difficult to implement uniformly across the vast empire, and are driven by a desire to preserve the empire, often under pressure from European powers. Despite these efforts, the 19th century is also a period of intense nationalist uprisings within the empire, fueled by the ideas of the French Revolution and encouraged by European powers. Greece gains independence in 1832 after a long and brutal war. Serbia, Wallachia, and Moldavia gain increasing autonomy. Egypt, under Mohammed Ali Pasha, a powerful Albanian governor, breaks away from effective Ottoman control, though nominally remaining a part of the empire. The Crimean War, 1853–1856, fought against Russia by the Ottoman Empire, Britain, France, and Sardinia, is a victory, but it highlights the empire's dependence on European support and further entrenches its financial indebtedness to Western powers. The Ottoman state becomes increasingly known as the sick man of Europe. The Young Ottomans, a group of intellectuals and bureaucrats, emerge in the mid-19th century, advocating for a constitutional monarchy and parliamentary government. Their ideas culminate in the promulgation of the first Ottoman constitution in 1876, establishing a parliament and limiting the sultan's powers. However, Sultan Abdulhamid II, 1876–1909, after a brief experiment with constitutional rule, suspends parliament and rules as an autocrat for 30 years, centralizing power and focusing on pan-Islamism to unite his diverse subjects. His reign sees continued modernization efforts, particularly in education and infrastructure, but also increased repression and censorship. The Balkan Wars, 1912–1913, are a final, devastating blow to the empire's European territories. A coalition of Balkan states, Bulgaria, Serbia, Greece, and Montenegro, unite to expel the Ottomans from Europe. The Ottomans suffer catastrophic defeats, losing nearly all their remaining European possessions, including Macedonia, Albania, and much of Thrace. These wars are a profound shock, leading to mass displacements and further weakening the empire's already fragile position. The Young Turk Revolution in 1908 forces Abdulhamid II to restore the constitution and parliament. The Committee of Union and Progress, CUP, a nationalist and reformist political party, gains increasing influence, eventually seizing power in a coup in 1913. The Young Turks pursue a policy of Turkification, attempting to forge a unified Turkish national identity, which alienates many of the empire's non-Turkish minorities. The final act of the Ottoman Empire unfolds on the stage of World War I. The CUP government, led by figures like Enver Pasha, Talat Pasha, and Semel Pasha, makes the fateful decision to ally with the Central Powers, Germany and Austria-Hungary, in 1914, hoping to regain lost territories and modernize the military with German assistance. This decision proves catastrophic. The Ottoman Empire fights on multiple fronts: the Caucasus against Russia, Mesopotamia against Britain, Palestine and Syria against Britain and Arab rebels, and Gallipoli against the Entente powers. Despite some initial successes, such as the valiant defense of Gallipoli, 1915–1916, the war drains the empire's resources and manpower. The Arab Revolt, led by Sharif Hussein of Mecca and supported by the British, further destabilizes the empire's Arab provinces. The Armenian Genocide, a systematic extermination of the Armenian population carried out by the Ottoman government during the war, results in the deaths of an estimated 1.5 million Armenians and remains a deeply controversial and tragic chapter in Ottoman history. By 1918, the Ottoman Empire is exhausted and defeated. Its armies are shattered, its economy in ruins, and its territories occupied by Allied forces. Sultan Mehmed VI signs the Armistice of Mudros on October 30, 1918, effectively ending the empire's participation in the war. The Treaty of Sevres in 1920 proposes the partition of the Ottoman Empire, leaving only a small Turkish state in Anatolia and placing many of its former territories under British and French mandates. However, a Turkish war of independence, led by the charismatic General Mustafa Kemal Pasha, later Ataturk, erupts in Anatolia against the Allied occupation and the Sultan's government. Mustafa Kemal rallies Turkish nationalists, defeats the invading Greek forces, and rejects the Treaty of Sevres. In 1922, the Sultanate is abolished, ending 623 years of Ottoman rule. The last sultan, named Vi, flees Istanbul. On October 29, 1923, the Republic of Turkey is officially proclaimed, with Ankara as its capital and Mustafa Kemal Atatürk as its first president. The Caliphate, the last vestige of Ottoman imperial authority, is abolished in 1924, and the remaining members of the Ottoman dynasty are exiled. The Ottoman Empire, a civilization that rose from a small frontier beylik to become a global superpower, one that shaped the course of history for over 6 centuries, finally fades into memory. Its legacy, however, remains indelible, woven into the fabric of modern Turkey, the Middle East, the Balkans, and beyond, a testament to its enduring influence on politics, culture, and religion across 3 continents. The story of the Ottoman Empire is a complex tapestry of triumph and tragedy, innovation and stagnation, a powerful reminder of the cyclical nature of empires and the profound impact of human ambition and resilience. Its long and storied existence offers invaluable lessons on governance, cultural diversity,